sun is numb, the Keurig's clean, your dog is dead, it's a Ponzi screen. Ponzi screen, Ponzi screen, because it's just something to do.
No, I see. That's your first problem, David. I always edit out the title of the podcast. I always edit it out. I always work my way around it so we don't say it too often.
Oh, you don't like that we say name of the podcast?
Yeah, I mean, for the purpose of this intro, I think I'll have fun with it and maybe bleep it or put a dolphin noise over it. That'll be fun,
Yeah,
so people
because you don't want
know
people
we're
to
talking.
hear that we're talking about name of the
People
podcast.
are just gonna think. People are thinking you're gonna talk. You're gonna see you saying slurs, David.
It's the natural go-to whenever I'm saying talking about those.
Oh my God! Oh, David, don't! Not them!
Well, you know who's not letting me say the name of this podcast? Those damn.
No, David, not them. They never did anything to you.
It's singular. It's one podcast. It's called.
No, I mean the group of people that you're saying a slur about right now.
I'm not saying a slur. I'm saying podcast.
Oh my God, David! Oh, you said it again. Oh God! Oh God!
So Danny, how are you? What's going on, dude? How's your life?
Good. Maybe I'll let the listeners know. Looking for a roommate, Bushwick, Brooklyn. Hit me up if you think you're not. If you think you can deal with it. If you can handle it. Yeah, I've been fine though. Otherwise, happy to be here in 2021.
The big year, the year of the dolphin.
Yeah, dude. No, what year? Ooh, what's the Chinese New Year? What is it? Ooh, I want to know now.
Spinach.
The
year of spinach.
I feel like it would be more like the year of the bok choy,
Oh, because it's Korean. Yeah.
Oh no, is Korean Chinese or? Okay, well now we're actually now I am actually delving. Oh, dude, Year of the Ox. Look at that.
Oh, it's the year of the ox.
Ox is cool. I like that's a good one, man.
Yeah, the year of the ox is, it's sturdy, it's stable, it's leadership.
I always got mixed up with the Chinese New Year's because I was born in 1988, which if you don't know is an incredibly blessed year, specifically because it was the year of the dragon, which is the best one. That's just the best one, and
the year of the snake, which is the second best one.
No, it was, okay. Well, I will give you that is just a dragon, but just on the ground. It was a dragon on the ground.
It's a floor dragon. Yeah.
But it is a floor dragon. But I thought I realized that I don't know. Somebody might have to answer this for us. I don't think it counts if your birthday is pre-March. Because the Chinese New Year happens in like March-ish.
When this comes out, it's going to be your birthday.
Yes, it will. It will be. But that's sad because it means I'm not Year of the Dragon. It means I'm Year of the Hare, which I don't want to be. I'm Year of the Rabbit, Year of the Bunny, if that is the case.
Year of the little, tiny, hairy, little furry bunny ball. Little baby, impotent bunny ball.
Whoa. Let's.
Good luck, little tragic shit for brains.
No, David,
ball.
no.
So welcome to Ponzi Screen. This is David, and
I'll give you that one.
Okay, this is David, and I'm Gabe. I mean, Danny. David. Danny's
Gabe's
here.
Gabe's not here right now. New Year's blessing actually is that even though in reality there would probably not be a lot of financial stories quite yet because we still are in the vortex because it's not the first Monday of the new year yet. That's when business officially starts again.
Mm-hmm.
We did have a couple little pieces of fun things happen, and they're actually quite interesting.
First one, Bitcoin rallies above $30,000.
Oh my God!
For the first time ever.
Yeah.
So 1 Bitcoin is now worth $30,000. Is that right?
Yep.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. I don't know if you've ever had the experience of being on Twitter and whenever Bitcoin does like a dive or a rally, just searching the word Bitcoin. But boy, do you get some manic tweets. You get a lot of never sell, never sell. Oh, like people, they are in it, my friend.
Oh, can we pause for a sec? There was this one tweet that I really saw that I thought was really funny and I wanted to make fun of. Everyone's talking about it. It's the only thing worth talking about when you're on Twitter, aside from talking about whether you are a socialist himbo or perhaps basically reincarnating Wint in some fashion. But now it's really this tweet that we saw that we think needs to be discussed was from @Jeff Booth. He said, Bitcoin might just be humanity's greatest invention because it allows changes without historical precedent and allows humanity a great leap forward as a result. With a potential change of this magnitude, you owe it to yourself to really understand it. And I don't know what specifically he means.
He sounds like Pete Buttigieg. He's like, not talking about anything.
What does he think that Bitcoin is doing that is the greatest invention from humanity ever? Like the wheel, like
yeah,
rockets, like penicillin, I don't know, fluoride in the drinking water, the squatty potty, like that. He thinks that this is the greatest invention from humanity. It allows changes without historical precedent. Okay, so Bitcoin is with historic precedent. The idea is basically what? The blockchain is monetizing an algorithm solving a problem, right? And it's monetizing that, it's commodifying that to a certain degree, and it's all open ledger. I would say probably the most innovative aspect of Bitcoin is its open ledger technology, right? But the books being open it's like Google Docs, but for a ledger, right? Like if everyone's sharing on the Google Doc, you can see anyone who's making a change on it.
Dude, I wish they just opened every single Google Doc, because I'll tell you right now, I've had some wild Google Docs in the past. Dude, when you got one that's private, you start writing things that say something like enemy or not to be trusted in them.
Yeah, I want to know all the secret Google Doc chats where everyone's sitting around talking shit on me, That's where all the goss happens, is on the Google Doc chats.
I mean, I'll give this man the benefit of the doubt. He's working within however many characters, 280 that you have in one tweet. But it's a little bit of hyperbole. It's we already know that making Bitcoin uses like as much energy as like small European countries use in a year, because the problems take too much. They're too complicated now.
Right. And what I think is kind of the most annoying thing about this is not only is it like a hyperbole, but it ends it with, you owe it to yourself to really understand it. And it's kind of like, first off, it's just asking you for someone to have him explain Bitcoin to someone. Like that's the majority of what the tweet is trying to accomplish. It's just like, give him an excuse to explain Bitcoin to someone. And
yeah, no, this guy goes to the grocery store and they're like, okay, that'll be $35.37. Would you like a bag with this? Yeah. So the idea is it's actually completely decentralized. He just goes right into it.
Yeah, he's like, actually, I will be paying in 1/873rd of 1 Bitcoin that I bought in 2011. Actually, and did you know that it's the blockchain technology is completely open
Did
source?
you know that? Yeah.
Okay, so the technology of it being open ledger, right? It's basically a Google Doc, but for keeping track of a currency and how much someone has it and how they're spending it. Okay, that's kind of like it's like if everyone got to see everyone's credit card transactions and you couldn't really mess with it because of that, right? I don't know. We've talked about this before, but it bears repeating. Bitcoin as a concept, it is not a novel concept of what like how it operates financially. This is not something where because it is decentralized or because it's not tied to any current, it's not technically tied to any like nation state or whatever. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
make it all of a sudden this entirely new invention of the financial system. This is uh, all this simply becomes a commodity and it's how it's treated. And these people just don't get that. They see this is like a new flashy thing. It's kind of like how the new iPhone may not have like any new actual technology things. It just looks pretty, or it might have some
Mm-hmm.
like slight novelty in its technological development, but 4K lens on its three cameras or whatever, portrait mode, stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it's still a phone, and what's really the most attractive thing about it is that it's new and that it's slightly more novel. That's what Bitcoin is in relation to gold, basically. Bitcoin is gold.
Yeah. Yeah. And well, it's also just, Bitcoin is the ultimate band-aid to capitalism writ large because you're talking about a thing. If you want to get into the philosophy or just sort of like the cultural movement behind it, like everybody who talks about Bitcoin, they have they really do have like this ultimate manic energy behind them, and they're like, I feel like the big energy and the big sort of statement that they're trying to make is like, look, we found a way to decentralize this thing and make it so everybody can know what's happening with this type of money. There could be no fraud or there could be no this. And I'm speaking broadly like them in this case.
Right.
But the ultimate question is like, my friend, I think what you're worried about is just corruption. And this is just a answer to this one thing. It's not dealing with the ultimate
Is it
problem.
fixing corruption though? Like, what's the corruption that's being fixed?
I'm talking about corruption writ large, like like the shit Mitt Romney does, where he takes his money and he stores it in Barbados and stuff like that. And you're excited, like I said, it's a band-aid. You're really excited about this band-aid. You're really excited about the tool that's designed to fix the problem that happens over and over and over. When the real question is why don't we fix the problem? Why did we invent this tool?
But how does maybe I'm stupid then? How does Bitcoin solve money laundering? Because it's it's open source, it's open ledger.
I don't mean specifically like money laundering, but like that it's like not just money laundering, but like it's like money laundering, regulation, getting around regulation, all the ways that money moves, essentially,
Because you
between
could
one.
track the whole thing.
You could track it, and again, I'm talking again. It's sort of like it's the regulatory aspect of it because it's not tied to a nation state in this way. So it's like it's not like it specifically solves money laundering. It doesn't in that way. But I'm saying it would. I think in this sort of made up world, it's a situation where you could see something as patently sort of weird and corrupt, like Jeff Bezos or Tim Cook, Apple CEO.
Yeah.
Yeah, where you could see them being like, we do all of our money above the board. It does definitely not go to Ireland and then go to Switzerland and then go back to Ireland. I think the Bitcoin people see just the existence of Bitcoin and like the hypothetical of, you know, that what that sort of transaction would look like as a win because it's not breaking those rules in like a traditional sense. It's not getting around regulation. It's just deregulated in its sense, but it doesn't solve the problem.
Right, and that's like not even true anymore. Like Bitcoin is regulated now.
Mm-hmm.
Like
yeah.
there are regulations around it. You can just because you like launder money through Bitcoin doesn't mean that there might not be some money laundering laws. I mean, in America, as we'll talk about in a sec, money laundering laws are pretty thin comparatively, which might change soon. But there is still, because it's a new technology, doesn't mean that it's like a new ecosystem of existence. It's not like, oh, we invented a new title for someone, ergo they're not, they're above the law. That's not, you can't just appoint yourself high chancellor of currency.
Yeah, actually, this is a fun little analog to it, is all the people who invested in the dog coin. Dog coin? That dog
Dogecoin.
coin? Yeah, exactly. I, at the same time that you were probably looking at Bitcoin stuff on Twitter, I had been getting notifications about dog coin, because apparently this coin went from being like a fraction of a cent to being worth, I think, like a penny or a tenth of a penny or
Wow,
something
good
now.
for them. Wow, that's
Yeah.
great.
And they're all just like, yes, never sell, rally around Dogecoin, rally around it. It's like, yesterday we were a fraction of a penny, but tomorrow we'll be at $1.
So what I'm wondering is, does it take the same amount of algorithmic activity to mine Dogecoin as Bitcoin?
No, I don't think I think it's different in that way. I mean, man, you get a lot of people up in the mentions because of this one.
Yeah.
But I mean, and tell me if I'm wrong, but I think the reason Bitcoin is like, oh man, I could be wrong about this, but I think the reason Bitcoin is so energy intensive now is because it's like they've gotten close, like there's a set number of them that you can make.
That I know.
This is like somewhere like 25 million, something like that, So, as you get closer to that, then you get closer to to that being the end of it. But if you made a new coin, which lots of people have made, then theoretically, couldn't you just start a new series of mathematical problems for the computer to solve?
Yeah, but I'm wondering. Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
fully know about the mining and creation process. Like I can't really like internalize in my head like what making the actual coin looks like. Is it 3D printed? I don't really.
No, it's literally a server farm. Dude, some people, they set shit up. They have like home setups where they'll have computers in their homes, but they won't look like computers. They'll just be like little boxes with like lights beeping on them. So they look like
VHS
a
players.
server farm.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all
players with the thing.
they're all stacked together and shit.
Right.
And they're all helping solve Bitcoin, and they're making their electricity bill just through the roof. Just
Totally.
like absolute yeah.
So I want to go into what else Jeff Booth has to say, because someone said like that exact same thing. Some reply guy to Mr. Booth said the amount of electricity it requires in order to barely manage a minuscule fraction of the world's daily transactions is unprecedented too. And he responds by saying, fixing money fixes a whole host of other things. Hard to see how a finite planet can work with a monetary system that requires never-ending growth and will print endlessly to get it. This guy's the author of a book called Price of Tomorrow: Why Deflation is the Key to an Abundant Future. Somehow he's making the argument that because Bitcoin is going up in value, which means that it's deflating, which is confusing, right?
Yes, because
inflation,
it's going up, but it's because it's deflating, but it's going up. Yeah,
right. Yeah, exactly. It's not. I don't like it. No one's happy with the terminology.
With the metaphor.
The mixed metaphors are getting too much, right? Inflation means that the dollar is becoming less and less valuable. High inflation is wheelbarrow full of dollars to get a loaf of bread, right? That's the
yeah.
And Bitcoin is now the exact opposite. When a Bitcoin is surging up in price, that means it's incredibly deflating, because it's like a third of one Bitcoin can get you a sports car, right? And or whatever. I mean, that's not true, but like you know what I mean. And so this guy is basically making the argument that fixing money fixes a whole host of other things. I want just hard to see how a finite planet can work with a monetary system that requires never-ending growth and will print endlessly to get it.
I almost understand what he's saying, but the electricity costs.
Yeah.
It's you're making the finite planet more finite because of the electricity costs
Yeah.
and because you're burning real things.
And he doesn't, yeah, exactly. And he doesn't see the difference between like an actual value of something as it relates in like a humanities sense versus the value of something in like a like real, like tangible value, like material thing. Like you can't,
Yeah.
just because Bitcoin is super deflating and the price is going way, 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 way up and its value is going way, way, way up, isn't going to solve income inequality. It's not going to solve tax evasion either. This is a concrete thing. This is a commodity that is becoming more valuable for the few people who have it and becoming more and more valuable comparatively so. They are getting much, much, much wealthier. This isn't solving anything. I don't see how this is. I just don't see where he's connecting the fact that this decentralized ledger tied to like basically an intangible commodity is anything. I just don't see it.
Well, I mean, culturally, I mean, Bitcoin was just the first to hit, and I mean, it was just the first of though, like the idea of blockchain. And what I will say in the Bitcoin people's defense is like, yeah, perhaps a blockchain technology could help other stuff. It doesn't have to be in the form of whatever Bitcoin is doing in terms of like financial commodities,
Right.
But there's nothing inherently wrong with decentralization.
No, the technology is nice. I just don't understand why. First off, this guy doesn't say that. He says Bitcoin in particular might be humanity's greatest invention. Doesn't say the blockchain might be humanity's greatest invention. Those are very different things, right? I mean, Bitcoin invented it, I guess. So, I mean, I guess in some ways it's 6 to 1, half a dozen to another. But he seems to be like worshiping on the ground of the commodity itself. Not,
dude, people love it. They love attaching a narrative to dude. I mean, come on, don't you remember the days? Don't you remember 2009 where like you'd hear a story where like a guy paid a crepe food truck in 1 Bitcoin instead of $7, and then the crepe food truck guy didn't know what he was getting, so he was like, oh, whatever, haha, I'll have fun with this. And then he took a Bitcoin, and surprise, surprise, now it's worth $30,000. I mean, like,
yeah,
it's like that's what happens. All this narrative got attached. You need to look at it from an ideology, like this cool fun thing happened to a couple people and now they worship it. And honestly, I sort of understand it to an extent because it's like the polar opposite of gold. Like gold is just a shiny metal that looks awesome. It just looks cool as hell and people worship it, and it happens to be scarce, so it's worth something. Bitcoin is just invisible gold.
Yeah.
It's scarce, but it doesn't if you can trick your mind enough and do enough mental gymnastics, you can be like, it's metaphorically shiny. Ooh,
yeah.
It
is, and I think that like the Zizek impression is spot on because it is about ideology. Like this is fundamentally trying to innovate your way out of capitalism's problems, right? Like you see you see income inequality and you say, let's just come up with a new currency. Instead of trying to like change fundamental power imbalances and like handle like systemic corruption or promote further social democracy in other ways, shapes, or forms, decommodifying segments of the economy. These were things that are like actually tackling structures. They say, let's come up with a new technology that can just wish our way out of inequality or wish our way out of corruption. I don't really see anyone in good faith being like, you know what, I'm not really going to be corrupt anymore because I use Bitcoin, and it's all on the ledgers. Like, you just go, Dogecoin will just become the heroin trading coin. That's what it's going to like. You'll just have a separate cryptocurrency just for heroin.
Yeah, it'll be the cool money. We'll just call it cool
coin.
money.
Yeah,
cool coin. Cool
yeah.
coin.
Yeah, it'll be the
Yeah, none of the problems fundamentally get solved when Jeff Bezos still has more than $100 billion.
Right.
Like, now what would solve that is if you took his money and then you divided it equally between all of America, which would be very funny because it would be something like $5,000 or something like that. Like he could easily give everybody like $5,000. In fact, man, I'm just gonna look it up right now. Jeff Bezos net worth, and you
Probably.
and actually,
I believe
and you,
you.
And, you can sort of, oh my God, David, he's worth
Also,
$182 billion.
He's going to be a 200
double billion.
billionaire.
Yeah.
So one more thing on Jeff Booth. He says, ironically, Bitcoin was meant to help someone screaming into the wind, defending a system that this is him replying back to a reply guy, defending a system that requires manipulation, but too afraid to question what they have been told all their life. I mean, by manipulation, you mean regulation? By manipulation,
yeah. I think that's what he means.
I'm really shocked that how.
Dude, Jeff Bezos could give everybody in the United States right now $500. That would be awesome, dude. He would be he's the stimulus. Jeff Bezos is the stimulus. I got your stimulus right here. He could give us all 600. 600
right there. Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah.
But anyways,
moving on.
Moving on. What else is there to say? Look, to go over it one more time. Really, money can be only three like things of value can only be three things. They can either be commodities like gold or Bitcoin, or they can be securities, which is a stake in a business venture, right? Where you have ownership over the venture. So Bitcoin, as it's structured, is not a security because there is no venture, and you own the coin, but you don't own like the company and can like make directions on behalf of how Bitcoin operates in a real way. So it's not a security. And the last one is a currency, and a currency has to be tied to a nation state because there has to be a monopoly of currency for it. It needs to be widely available and used within that monopoly, and used solely and only by everyone, right? And it's just Bitcoin is not that. If Facebook launched Libra like it was hoping to last year, now it's not going to happen. It's going to be something much more watered down. It would have been the closest thing that any cryptocurrency has gotten to being an actual currency, but only within the Facebook-owned platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. That would have been the closest any of the cryptocurrencies would have gotten. That's not going to happen because global banking regulators and financial regulators were smart enough to realize how insanely horrible of an idea that was. So backed off that one.
They were like, They knew not to do that. So that's the problem. Bitcoin is just Michael J. Fox at the dance trying to take multiple women to dinner at the same time, just jumping in between, thinking it's a security, thinking it's a currency, thinking it's a commodity. It ain't, buddy. It's just
what movie are you talking about with Michael J. Fox taking multiple women to dinner? Back to the Future,
that was
Part 1?
No, I believe that was part of a television show. It was when he was on. Oh, what was the name of that television show? Ooh, people are gonna hate me for not knowing the TV show Michael J. Fox was on. Hanging with Mr. Cooper? No. But that's a trope. That's a trope.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
we're gonna go. We're gonna go with that. That's fine. So
yeah.
But fun thing about the Facebook cryptocurrency is they had to change their name after they like branded to DM, DIEM, as in Carpe Diem, and someone is threatening to sue Facebook because they already have that name and they're a financial product.
Ooh, I love it. They tried to blackwater their way out of it, and it didn't quite work. Interesting. Okay.
So now
well,
so now DM is like they lost a lot of their big credit card sponsors and their banking sponsors or whatever, and now it's gonna be like a stable coin is what they're trying to do. And a stable coin is basically you're digitizing a currency. So the structure is identical. Instead of offering it on a dollar or on a credit card, it's being offered through a blockchain. That's all a stable coin is, really. And
okay.
it's directly pegged to a currency. So its value is pegged to a fiat currency. Or not the fiat, not the US currency, but it's tied to a nation state's currency.
Yeah.
And now Facebook is trying to do that, but they're also still getting a lot of skeptics about that as well, because it's still Mark Zuckerberg trying to manage money. It's just not going to go well.
It's still old goat in the headlights, just being like, but what if I could be a middle manager to everything you do? That's what he looks like. This is what he looks like.
The goat in the headlights, the classic.
Yeah, that's what he looks like.
It's really
I
scary.
I made a funny face for David, just so you guys know.
Yeah, this is a good TV show. The one that welcome to the Ponzi Scream, the TV show with Danny the Face Man Feltz.
Yeah.
And that's a funny one, man. Oh, that's good. So, moving on, the next thing we're going to talk about, the next subject is, this is from the Wall Street Journal, but it's been covered elsewhere. We're going to look at it from the Journal. Basically, we're going to talk about the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act. And most of us know about it from the grandstanding that these disgusting libs have been putting forward in order to prevent the hardworking elected servants of our grand democratic republic to not be able to drink eggnog with their family on New Year's Eve. And
that's right. Yeah.
And their grandstanding and their desire to destroy the federal government prevented some beautiful people from being able to kiss on New Year's Eve together. And perhaps they may have actually prevented some babies from being born, people from falling in love.
Ugh. Oh my God. So just to make everything perfectly clear, we could spell it out. Maybe in the last 2 weeks, you've heard something about the $2,000, potential, like, oh, everybody gets $2,000 bill, and then you've also heard about that's been like a very popular bill. We've all heard about that one, but then the other big one that's been going on is what David's talking about, which is the bill that essentially gives the military money. Essentially, it's been passed for what? So it gets passed mostly unanimously 60 years and whatever. It's incredibly unfair, blah blah blah. All of the terrible things that the military gets is whatever it is. But about a month ago, the good boy president had the funny idea to be like, I'm going to veto it, which is very funny. It's objectively funny because it's breaking precedent so much, and it's hilarious. And his whole thing is you got to get rid of Section 238, which is the clause that gives immunity for websites like Facebook, Twitter, etc., from being persecuted by their
prosecutor, for defamation and stuff.
Yeah, by what their users do. And of course, Trump not thinking about what he's like, all he thinks about is his Twitter. So he's just thinking about that. So he's like, you got to get rid of that. And if you don't, because it is connected to that clause, it's connected to that bill. If you don't get rid of that, I'm going to veto it. And which is, again, very funny. And what happened?
Also wanted to create a commission that would look into the massive voter fraud that led to Joe Biden's election. And
that was the other part of it.
Yeah. And they wanted to do. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you if you were going to say that.
No, I wasn't. I totally forgot about it.
And so then that's why there's two of us. And so they wanted to have that, and they wanted to have. He wanted to get CDA 230 repealed, and he wanted the $2,000 before any of those, all those things signed before we got the NDAA signed. But interesting thing about these bills is there's a lot of weird stuff that goes into them. It's not like the crazy thing about the $740 billion that we give to the military every year out of the kindness of our hearts and the preservation of our empire is we have a lot of weird things that go into it. And this is how laws are made now. Like they're all have really shitty, clotted together acronyms. They usually like the CARES Act or they're all Secure Act. These are all these very usually cloying words. I don't like that we do this now. Like, can we just call things like boring acronyms like the NLRA? Just it's fine. It doesn't have to be called the Work Act or whatever, the PRO Act. It's dumb. It's bad form. Another weird thing that happens in Congress is whenever there's a bill passed, there are no more clean bills. Clean bills don't happen. What happens is things like the NDAA, which includes a huge law that very likely is going to happen that would make company ownership of LLCs more transparent. Is a rule intended to combat money laundering and the financing of terrorism.
Yeah. See, yeah. So what David is saying is is in reality, these laws, they're not just like, we have the Congress of something, something, something. It's like maybe it starts that way, but then it goes on for literally 5,000 pages. Practically what this means, like I said, is there's a bill, it's 5,000 pages long, and because Congress is literally full of baby brains, they don't read the bill. The bills are all written by other people, whether they're good or bad. And a lot of times, shit just kind of gets shoehorned in there. Just kind of gets like hidden in the corner.
And this one's really good. I mean,
it's
not
surprisingly good.
It's like the thing that got shoehorned is like something that's been some effort that's been pushed for years by anti-corruption advocates. So what it would do, it would require U.S. companies to register their true owners, their beneficial owners, in an attempt to discourage the use of anonymous shell companies for illicit means or otherwise. And it would also create a new whistleblower program to encourage people to report potential violations of anti-money laundering laws. So there are a lot of redundant financial regulators. There's a lot of different ones working all at once. And one of the things that one of them is this conglomerate of financial regulators called FinCEN. We've talked about them before. The Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. They're the ones who get these suspicious activity reports. We talked about that from that BuzzFeed story that was huge last year. And this law is would like address these sorts of things very, very well. I mean, if you want to tackle money laundering, like so beneficial ownership is not just saying like, okay, who owns this LLC? Well, it's actually owned by another LLC, which is actually owned by another LLC. Beneficial ownership, I think, has to be who is the actual person at the within the Matryoshka doll, at the very center of the Russian doll. What is the actual person? Who's the beneficial owner? And you have to disclose that to FinCEN, from what I understand. And what that's going to do is it's not going to be something that's going to be publicly available, but financial regulators can look at it, which is a pretty great thing. Like
pretty cool.
Like that's good. That's a nice good thing. And it's why can't we just have that bill? You know, like why does it have to be in the NDAA?
Well, I mean, it's just one of those. I mean, it's very funny because again, I've mentioned him once already in the podcast, but it's one of those things where it's probably bad for Mitt Romney. Like it's probably bad for him, but like there's no way he even knew that this was part of this bill. Like he absolutely wasn't thinking about it, and it kind of speaks to the state of like you know, an intelligence of like how things get done these days. It's like, yeah, you got to be a sneaky little bitch about it and hide it in this. But that's the funny part is that this isn't even for the people who are necessarily trying to out money launderers or people who are not being they're not disclosing where what they own or whatever. They're trying to prevent like a thing that doesn't happen. Like they're or that happens far less. They're trying to they're a bunch of like fucking dads in the middle of like Wisconsin who are like, I am trying to prevent the child trafficking laws from affecting this, and it just and they're like, well, this bill must be passed, and it's like, okay, we'll pass the bill because actually it inadvertently stops rich people from trying to store their money in corrupt places. It's like, oh, if you make the thing that's bad actually bad, it's going to affect both sides of the coin. It's going to affect people who are doing it illicitly and then people who are just like lawful evil, if that makes sense.
Right. Like apparently according to the article, it's going to be like an extra half an hour of work that someone's going to have to do. They're going to have to disclose their name, birthday, address, and government issued ID number like a passport or driver's license of the company's beneficial owners. Okay. Then existing companies only have like 2 years to comply. I mean, this is not a huge amount of work, but there's still like small business advocates that are like, this is just the straw that broke the camel's back of excessive regulation. It's like you literally have to write down your name. You have to write down your name.
This is the equivalent of reporting a car alarm going off on 311 or 311.
Yeah,
311. That's the level of energy it's going to take. And again, look at who's complaining, because the people who are complaining are not innocent. They're bad.
Yeah. That is worth pointing out, absolutely. And if we just think about how over the last like 5 years, like what have been some of the most outrageous international financial scandals, right? There was like the Panama Papers, which basically no one ever heard anything about ever again. And I think the lead journalist on that ended up getting assassinated. No one ever talks about that. There was the FinCEN files, which again, we talked about it on the show. Nothing. There's been no conversation about it, basically. There was something even before the Panama Papers that I can't remember right now. And it's just generally known that like the Cayman Islands and like Bermuda, all of these little island states are the Seychelles now is kind of like consider this like Isle of Man. Like if you work in the financial sector, these are just like known weird little places where a lot of money is hidden. And all of these some of the biggest high-level financial crimes are as a result of LLCs being registered in these islands. And these little offshore tax havens. Even the Panama Papers was in Panama. And that's an isthmus. That's not an island. That's an isthmus.
It's connecting South America to Central America, my friends.
That's right.
And it's not even general culture. It is popular culture. There have been so many movies of a rich guy going to Barbados to get his money. Everybody knows about this.
It's more of a cliche than it's more of a cliche than like a monocle these days.
Yeah,
basically, it's the 21st century monocle. And if there was a law that made monocles illegal in 1905, that would have been a good improvment.
Woo!
That would have been a positive development.
You would have seen a lot of fucking robber barons just like, wait, where am I? Where's my gold? I could see it broadly speaking, but it's I can't see it in detail. My monocle. my eyesight, it's so poor.
I can't operate this monopoly anymore because I'm blind.
I'm blind. I'm blind.
So I mean that is it's a nice thing. And if you think about it in kind of a structural level, the only way that we're going to be able to get taxes managed, we're going to crack down on this like international corruption, tax evasion, money laundering, all this stuff, is if we prevent the American people from getting $2,000. So it creates this weird Faustian bargain where you're like, do we want there to be corruption or do you want $2,000?
I mean, well, first of all, it's do you want $1,400? Because I guess we get $600. Do we get $600?
I think we're gonna get $600.
We get $600. We get $600. We get we get $600. But then it's just like yeah. Do you want? Yeah, this is let's make a deal on the U.S. government stage where you got Wayne Brady holding up a box. Right. And it's just like, do you want the box or do you want the BMW? Yeah. And in the box is like a bigger BMW, but it also might be hamburger shoes.
Right. This is the marshmallow test, but for every single American citizen, just to see whether they're going to take the $2,000 now or in the long term have like a much more transparent global financial system. And it's fucked up that you have to frame it like that.
But it's also like, I mean, it's a system, so it could get bogged down in whatever way things get bogged down. You know, I mean, like, I'm speaking broadly here, but like, you know, Obama had a pandemic task force. Trump disabled the pandemic task force. You know, things change from administration to administration, and even though stuff like the Fed is like less controlled by those like kind of wavy daily day-to-day politics and stuff, like, I mean, honestly it's like, I guess we'll just have to see. We'll have to see because the choice, quite frankly, has already been basically chosen. All right, they passed the bill. We're probably not going to get $2,000
at this point. No.
We're probably not going to get to that. So whatever,
which means
fate
like hundreds of
is sealed. It's sealed. It's sealed. So let's see what happens. I
mean, a lot of enforcement stuff from like my time covering the SEC, there is like a decrease in enforcement activity, and they change focus from SEC to SEC. That's certainly true, but there's some things that, like, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, in terms of like financial enforcement, open corruption, naked corruption, you can't dodge that level type of enforcement action. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, for the most part, even if you're coming from like a white shoe, high profile law firm that represents Wall Street, and you're going to go back there after your time at the SEC, you still have to do your job ostensibly as a financial enforcer of law. And so one thing that's good about this is like FinCEN is still going to have, it doesn't matter if it's a Democrat or a Republican, FinCEN is still going to have some obligations to review it, to review these new LLC registrations and see like, oh, there's just Ghislaine Maxwell is the owner of Chuck E. Cheese's. Oh, we should probably take a look at that.
We should take a look. You know, I kind of almost, I look at it. So, you know, the metaphor people always say, or the saying, like, there's a lot of smoke but no gun.
Fire.
There's a lot of fire. Well, or let's just say gun. Let's say gun in this case for the purpose of visualization.
You know that one metaphor that no one says that I'm using for one instant.
Okay. Look. For if I want to get real semantic about it, guns make smoke, a very small amount of it, but it's okay.
You're right.
Okay. So people are like, there's no smoke, but there's no gun. All right. with the current way people move their money around, or rich people or companies or whatever like that, like I said, you have people like Apple and Facebook and stuff taking their money, throwing it to Ireland, throwing it back to Switzerland, throwing it to Luxembourg, back to Ireland, and then that's what it is. So the metaphor then turns into Tim Cook holding the gun, and there's there's smoke coming out of it, but he's saying, "You didn't see me shoot. You didn't see me do it, so it's not true. It's not true yet." So I think what this regulation might do is it really probably will. It'll do two things. It'll catch the stupidest people. That's for sure. Like the dumbest people in the world who do this stuff, I think it probably will catch them, because they're going to be like, duh,
right,
boom. They're going to be doing that. But then there is going to be this flip side of the coin where you're going to have a room absolutely filled to the brim with smoke. Tim Cook still holding the gun. Smoke is pouring out of this gun now, and he's like, "No, you didn't see me fire it." So I think it's gonna exacerbate that situation and really show the hypocrisy in that system even more.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if big players will really. This is me being. I mean,
public companies don't have to. They're exempt from this. So
yeah.
So like what you were talking about is like Tim Cook's personal LLC that is controlling all of his personal assets, because Apple's doesn't have to deal with this new law at all. So any corporate tax evasion that is become the bane of most people's existence in this country is not affected by this. This is
sure
people laundering their money, and the idea is to stop terrorism or whatever that means. But like the idea is to crack down on that. That's why it's ostensibly in the defense bill, right? Because there's a lot of laws about, a lot of financial regulators track if you're sending money to a family member who happens to be located in, northeastern Syria, or,
sure,
southeastern Turkey or northwestern Iraq, and they just happen to be there and just on vacation. Or if they're, taking a break from their study abroad and they're going to Mogadishu for vacation, things like that. Though that sort of stuff financial regulators are looking for, because they're looking for, it is illegal to fund terrorism, and you can get terrorism charges.
It is indeed illegal to fund terrorism.
Folks, you've heard it here first on this episode.
You heard it here first.
On this episode.
Honestly, I think it's going to be just great for us, because long-term situation, you're going to get a lot of wackos who are going to go to jail for their ski-doo, companies getting buzzed. I think it's going to be great for the pod. I'll tell you that right now.
It's going to be great for the pod. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's generally, I wouldn't imagine. And it's going to be bad for Trump. It's
going to be bad for him. His shit is all over the place. It's so messy.
Yeah. I mean, it's not going to retroactively affect him in his past activity, and companies, I think, have 2 years people have 2 years to comply with it. But in the future, he's going to have to be careful. So anyways, that's
what happened. Screen. That's what got passed. That was one of the weird little things that did get passed in that bill. I mean, everybody out there, you please still recognize that the people who are like, we have to support our military, they're still bad. Dick Durbin is still a dumb shit. Okay. All the people who are like, we gotta name all the bases where we train to kill people to kill and dehumanize them and make them feel more cult-like. We gotta make sure that Robert E. Lee's name isn't on him anymore.
Ludicrous. Absolutely.
Like that part is very silly. But again, the way the law works in the 21st century is now you just like bloop, get these happy little accidents every once in a while,
it's laundering its own thing. Like it is its own form of laundering through this jingoistic empire bill. You're throwing in this weird little thing that actually might do some good for financial regulation. and it's the medium has become the message in that regard.
Who's laundering the launderers? You know what I'm talking about? Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, that seems like a good place to stop.
Yeah. Good pod. Glad we could talk about it. I hope you guys feel positive about the new year. I don't really try to subscribe too much to that kind of things, but hey, January is my birthday month, so it's
Happy
always
birthday,
fun.
Daniel.
It's always fun. Yes, that's right. January 7th. I'll be turning. Did Christ turn 33?
Christ died at age 33.
Okay, good. I will be Christ age this year. I'll be
Mhm.
33. Very excited about that. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I have a good one. I hope you're enjoying this unseasonably warm New York weather if you do live in the tri-state area. If not, I'm sorry about that.
Sorry that you don't live in New York, folks.
Sorry you don't live in the fucking 27 rings best city in the world. Best city in the world. I need a new roommate. Please help me. I need a roommate.
Yeah, please do that. Shouts out to my nephew Micah. He just got born January 2nd. So you can call me Uncle David now, Danny, if you want to.
Oh, that's some strong Capricorn energy from David.
Yeah. All right. Takes one to know one. Ponzi scream. And that's it. Good night.
Goodbye.